Alrighty. Looks like we are live. What is going on? You are watching and, of course, listening to Tags Live, aka Talk About Gay Sex, the live edition, where we're here every Wednesday night on the Crowdcast platform. This is episode 611. I am your host, Steve V, alongside Kodi, Maurice, Doggette. How the hell you doing, Kodi?
That's my cue. Hello, darling. How are you doing this evening? I'm wonderful.
Good. I'm doing pretty good. Getting ready to head out this weekend for
Ooh.
Vacaya and their resort in Playa del Carmen. Well, I will be running their red light district. And every night I was telling you guys offline earlier in the week that every night I have like a different look that I'm going to be wearing, from scantily clad, of course, but my job
Always.
is to keep things flowing in the red light district. It will happen from like 10 to 1 or 2 in the morning, but it's very sex progressive and dark
Oh.
room, whatever you want to think of it as, but it's in a cool area on property, and I'm really excited. But I wanted to let everybody know that throughout the week, I will be doing kind of like a daily diary, videos or images from the property in my outfits, maybe giving you a little behind the scenes of my day to day running the red light district. And that's all free, but the only way to get it is on our Patreon page. And I want everyone to check it out. So, all of next week, starting October 3rd through, oh, excuse me, October 26th through November 3rd, I will be doing a daily diary of my experiences with images.
Oh.
And the only way to get it for free is on our Patreon page. So you want to go to patreon.com/TAGSPodcast. And while you're there, consider grabbing a tier, because I might be doing some collabs as well and give you more insight into that. But patreon.com/TAGSPodcast. A little bit later in this show, we are excited to bring on our very special guest to the show. We're bringing on Amir Yass to the show, who's going to be talking about writing. He's got a show that he's working on. He's going to be talking about being a queer Muslim, growing up, his incredibly successful TikTok. And then we're going to bring him into some hot topics, because he does a lot of that as well. So we'll get
Ooh.
his take on a lot of stuff that's coming up. And first, we've got to get into some hot topics. And first off, this blew my mind, because a few years ago, there was a very good documentary on Netflix about the Abercrombie and Fitch, and it was called the
Oh.
Abercrombie. Excuse me, not that one. It was called White Hot: The Rise and Fall of Abercrombie and Fitch. It's really good. It gives such
And
an
appropriately.
insight. Yeah, it was precluding what went on today, and I highly recommend watching that if you haven't seen it already. But the ex-CEO Mike Jeffries was just arrested and charged with sex trafficking young men, and in an attempt for his past. Tuesday, Mike Jeffries, who ran the clothing company from 1992 to 2014, and his associates, Matt Smith and James Jacobson, all were arrested. All three faced 15 counts of interstate prostitution and 1 count of sex trafficking relating to incidents that occurred between December 2008 and March 2015. And according to a grand jury indictment, Smith is listed as the former CEO's romantic partner, while Jacobson allegedly recruited young men to perform commercial sex acts for the couple. It was a whole racket. And Kodi, if you saw the documentary, you really get an insight into a lot of the models that said that they essentially would be promised a job, a high-end job. They were being photographed by a famous photographer. I just blanked on his name right now, but huge photographer back in the day. And in exchange, he would have these parties and actually put them up. And they were these lavish parties, but pay them, basically sex trafficking, and said, well, I'll give you this job if you perform. And this went on for years. It was really insidious. But what you also learn in the documentary is that I've never really liked Abercrombie at all because I always thought it
Me
only
either.
featured like white guys
Me
and
too.
a very right. And you learned that this CEO, this ex CEO who was arrested, that's what he only wanted to see. Mike Jeffries only wanted to see a certain type of a model in there. And so, even to the point you learn in the documentary of who he hired to work in the store. If somebody looked a certain way that was maybe darker skinned, they didn't last as long as some of the, more Caucasian looking models. And
Yeah,
yeah, it was crazy, but it's all coming down now. It reminds me a little bit of what's going on with Diddy.
that's
Same
what I was
kind of
gonna
thing.
say.
Yeah. I mean, when you heard this, we know that you weren't a fan of Abercrombie, but now that you know a little bit more on what went on with some of these models, what are your thoughts?
Well, first, was it Bruce Weber that was the photographer?
Yes, thank you so much,
Boom.
Bruce Weber,
All right,
who
cool. Those are hell of a
also has been
drug.
accused of actually seducing some of these male models when they were on shoot. Yeah,
Really?
oh
Oh
yeah,
my
and
goodness.
that's sad. He was a big part of the photography that I saw growing up as a young gay man.
Oh, yeah, that does kind of tarnish things a little bit.
Yeah,
And yeah, it's just really sad. It seems like all these traffickers and things, and they're all coming out. I feel like after Jeffrey Epstein, it just trickled down. I have so many conspiracy type theories about things like this, which we all do, of course. But I feel like this is just another version of Diddy. I call this the gay Diddy, basically, or the Diddy
yeah,
Diddy, or what have you. But I think that this is it's really horrible. I hope that he gets the book thrown at him. I hope that all of the people that he hurt feel some sort of justice from him actually going to jail and facing the consequences of his horrible actions. So I think that this is going to change a lot of lives, and I hope that everybody gets their just desserts and their just due.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I just think it's, male models, a lot of them, well, some did come in, a lot of them didn't to want to speak. You learn from the
Mhm.
documentarian. And I think a lot of it had to do with shame back in the day of really the pressure. We were all used to hearing women being taken advantage of in the same type of way. Haven't heard a lot of male models in the same capacity to this level, and I think that's why a lot of them haven't come forth. But now I think as it's trickling down, and like you said with the Diddy case, a lot of these male models hopefully will come forward and really put this guy and all three of them behind bars for quite some time. And I just think, yeah, it's really
Yeah.
disgusting. Um,
Well, while I was kind of researching all of this, another documentary came up that I think is on Hulu, but I can send it to you
uh-huh.
and you can post it on show notes or what have you. And one of the male models that's at the forefront of it is Barrett Paul. So people are coming out, and I'm applauding them. And the more people that actually come out and say something about this will make other people more comfortable. I mean, just look at Diddy's case as an example. At first, it was just a smattering of people, but now all of these people are coming out and saying these things are true for them as well. So I think that
Yeah,
the more people stand up, the more we can stand together.
exactly, exactly. We might have a special guest coming out shortly.
I'm
He
looking
thinks
for
he's
them.
in, but I haven't seen him.
I
I'm
haven't.
just going to keep moving on. I told him to register, but in the meantime, while we're waiting that, we have to talk about Cooper Koch. Cooper Koch was in Monsters, the Menendez brothers, on Ryan Murphy's Menendez brothers. He he's been, first of all, he's super sexy, and he's been in
Oh
the
yeah.
news a lot for his package. He was very adamant on Watch What Happens Live to let Andy Cohen know that it was his package, and everybody was praising his gift that he has.
It's a
And
gift.
so, yes,
It's a blessing.
it is a blessing. I'm just talking to our potential guest. We're looking for you, but don't see you. You don't see him, Kodi, do you?
Nope. I'm looking.
Um, that's so weird. Okay. Yeah. and I can't keep talking and doing this at the same time. It's just like,
Give him
I
my
think
phone
he's
number.
okay. Yeah, I know. Every time we try and do this, I'm like, I can't do two things at once. I'm really not that
Yeah.
good at that. But Cooper Koch, we said how gifted he was, but now he's telling stories of the early days when he was in acting class that basically somebody told him, you'll never get anywhere because of your gay voice. And look where he is now. It was an acting coach, of course, that told him to hide his voice as sounding gay, that it would hurt his chances of making it in Hollywood. Well, don't you think Cooper now is laughing all the way to the bank because it didn't work? And I'm so glad he's around now. Don't you think, Kodi, when you heard this?
Oh, 100%. I'm sorry, everybody out there. Gay voice is the only voice that I'm ever going to have. So let's get that out there. Let's get it out of the
Yeah.
way because you know how many people have tried to make me lessen myself or make myself smaller to fit into their box of what someone should be as an artist, as a performer, as all of these things. You can't listen to them. You can't give in to what they have to say as far as making you feel less of a human being or less uh, worthy of love and adoration and all of those good things. So yeah, don't listen to the haters.
Yeah, and believe it or not, actually, somebody came for him online too. Somebody was the conversation with Cooper is continued as a gay somebody by the name of Tyler actually said he's so hot. I hate how gay his voice is though, which is so like seriously, I can't believe how backwards that is from our own community. Somebody
Right?
told him, you need to make yourself attracted to other gay boys. Fixating on straight characteristics will work against you in real life. Yeah,
Oh,
I'm
get
glad somebody
Tyler.
like really put him in his place, because it's just, I mean, can you believe that even within our own community, we still have stereotypes of people that really want to judge us within our own community too. It's one thing for a manager, but then when you hear it from an actual person within the community and then they put that on Twitter, it's just talk about
Yeah,
reductive
it's
and be, you
very
know,
ick.
yeah,
Yes. Yeah. And sometimes the call is coming from inside the house. So unfortunately, this
yeah,
Tyler guy who, I'm really curious to see what he even looks like or what he sounds like because he probably has a gay voice too.
yeah.
I have a gay voice. I have you ever seen this viral video of this gay guy and he is trying to butch it up for a message that he's leaving on like someone's voicemail or something like that, and then he listens back to the message and it's just basically a purse falling out of his
Yeah,
mouth.
yes, exactly. I
Hilarious,
know
and it's
exactly.
100% me.
Yeah, right. Oh
Yeah,
my God.
I've always had a fear of sounding too gay or be acting too gay, and you just got to let all that go
Yeah.
because now the only voices that I listen to are the ones that are telling me how beautiful I am, how talented I am, how I have a 12-inch penis. I mean, the last one is
Oh,
lying.
really?
The last one is lying, but I still listen to it. It makes me feel better.
Okay, I love it. Well, maybe you're like Cooper. That would be great.
I have
Um,
we both blessed, baby.
okay, moving on from gay voice to a topic that was really interesting, where straight bros have been sounding off on their close friendship with gay guys. And they asked the question, how many close straight male friends do you have? Are you wary of coming out to them because you fear it might change the way they treat you? And it was a recent question on Threads that prompted hundreds of responses, primarily from straight men, regarding their friendships with gay guys. One user said that he posted a question for straight men who are generally LGBTQ accepting. If you meet a gay man or a guy you find out is gay, are you opposed to being his friend, or are you disappointed to find out he's gay? I never know if straight men are down to be friends. They're always so awkward. I would argue this kind of went on, this whole thread of people really said they could give zero fucks if we were cool. Before I knew it, we're cool. Somebody else said, usually gay men align better with my worldviews than straight men in my area. I really like that one. Not at all. But then again, I've worked in theater for decades, explained another guy. So of course you're going to find a lot of gay guys in that. And I don't think it really matters at all. but I do see our guest now, and so let's invite him to the
He's here.
stage.
I was like,
And
what do
we'll
you want me to
continue
do?
this after all of our guests. Yes.
Okay,
We
fabulous.
just invited you to the stage. We have two guests on today, and one of them is Emanuel Loarca, who has an upcoming show next Wednesday, October 30th, at the LA LGBTQ Center, which is one of the largest LGBTQ centers in the world. And they put on some really great, if you remember recently, they did a whole quinceañera that was really amazing. And here he is. Welcome to the show, Emanuel. We figured it out.
Yay, thank you for having me.
Well, we know we don't have you for very long, but we wanted to definitely get you on. You're a friend of our co-host, Teddy Alexis, and you have an upcoming show next week at the iconic LGBTQ Center. It's called Under My Skin. It's a series of monologues you direct, curate, produce, and I believe you're doing one of the monologues. Tell us a little bit more about it.
Yes, this is a series of monologue. We have 3 different writers, and it's from the Latino perspective in the United States. One of them talks about virginity and connecting online, and the other one is an homage to Sylvia Rivera, which has been forgotten in the Pride movement. Then we have this really powerful story about a proof of love, and it's a lesbian story who a girlfriend asked the other girlfriend to go to the gynecologist, and it's based on a real story and how difficult it is for some women to be, touched down there. Especially if they are a lesbian. It's written by Victoria Garcia. And then we have another one that it deals about with a little bit about with this church trauma, growing up Christian or growing up Catholic, and then, trying to discover yourself and trying to find happiness and love. We also have a very funny piece called The Protagonist, which is a guy debating if he should get married or not now that it's possible. And we end the series with La Diva, which is a piece written by our dear friend, who passed away a couple of years ago during the pandemic, and she did this piece about a transgender woman looking for you.
Wow!
And it's called La Diva. We have
That
choreography.
So fabulous.
Thank you.
And Emanuel, is one of your monologues featured in this as well?
Well, I'm writing. I wrote a couple of them, and I'm directing, and I'm producing. I'm not acting this time. We have 6 different actors. We have Delante McCrary. We have Gabriela Richardson, Isabella Cascarano, Julian Montellano, Dennis Mencia, and Mariana Marroquin, with the choreography of Beatriz Eugenia Vasquez. The first piece has this kind of like sexy tango going on. Which will be fun.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is all happening next Wednesday, October 30th at the LGBTQ Center. You said it's in the Rembrandt Theater. What time is it from, and where can people get tickets?
Yes, it's at 7 p.m. and it's almost like an hour and a half. You could get tickets at the Circa website, which is the festival that we were part of. So it's www.circafestival.org/event/under-my-skin/ and you could get all the tickets there. Tickets start at $15. So it's affordable, and the actors are fabulous. We did this show years ago and at the Matcha Theater and the Madeline Monroe Theater in WeHo, and the critics loved it. We are so happy to bring it back for one performance for the Circa Festival, and we are happy to be part of it. I love the iconic Redbird Theater, and it's a pleasure to do it there.
Yes.
Very cool.
Sounds amazing.
Yes. Well, congratulations on it. Thank you for coming on. We'll list this in show notes for people if they want to check it out in LA. It sounds like an amazing night. I wish I could go, but very cool.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, if you go, let me know. Okay.
Okay. Well, if any of our LA audience, for sure. Yeah, definitely let us know. Thank you so much, Emanuel. We'll
Thank
list
you,
all
Thank
this
you
stuff
for
Emmanuel.
for
having
him.
me.
All right.
Absolutely.
Buenas tardes.
Have a good night.
Buenas
All
tardes,
right.
sí.
Buenas tardes.
Very cool. All right. And that
That's
brings us into,
amazing.
I know. Doesn't it sound like a great night? And
Like when he said Sylvia Rivera, I was in. I was like, oh, I'm going to LA tomorrow.
yeah, I know. Exactly. Very cool. Well, I think it's time to bring on our special guest tonight. We're a night
It
of guests
is.
here. You want to invite him up? Hello, hello.
Yeah, she's getting her hair together. I love
Yeah.
I got
it.
my hair together, honey.
I love it. We want to introduce our special guest Amir Yass to the show tonight. We've been
Hi.
talking for a while. Amir, just to read a few, is an LGBTQ activist battling against racism, transphobia, and body shaming in the queer community. Creating safe spaces is very important to Amir, and he does that on his Instagram and TikTok. But what I'd also loved is as a queer Muslim unicorn who doesn't shy away from any conversation, you use comedy, and you're working on an actual news or a series that you're developing kind of about your life too, right?
Yes.
So welcome to Tags Live. And,
Welcome.
I guess first, I just wanted to ask you, I mean, you have consulted on a queer Muslim show before. What was your life growing up? Because in Muslim religions, homosexuality isn't always allowed, it's forbidden. What was life like growing up for you, and how did you find your way over to being queer and your career now?
You know what's funny is I get that question a lot, and it's interesting because, Middle Eastern culture, anyone who's dated a Middle Eastern man knows they're quite effeminate. They love to dance. They love fashion. They're quite flamboyant. We're quite flamboyant as a culture. So it's interesting when it comes to sexuality, it's like, don't touch me. But when you go to the Middle East, everyone's holding hands. People are showering together. It's very homoerotic. Like we have
Just naturally, yeah.
Just naturally, we invented the saunas. The Romans say they invented the saunas, but it's actually Persians that were showering like thousands of years before any white people. So I think it's a good point that but then the minute you're gay, it's like, don't touch me. I don't want to be around you. It's a very interesting kind of almost like homoerotic / like misogynistic culture. It's very interesting. So growing up in that, definitely it was really hard. I'm effeminate presenting, but I'm actually quite masculine in my thinking and the way that I operate. I'm very much in charge. I take care of women, even if I'm with the gay men, I'm always the one ordering the Uber. So I just kind of got used to being more in that masculine role.
In charge.
I'm a femtop. I'm always in charge. So in all aspects of my life. So it's kind of interesting. Growing up in such a conservative family, there wasn't a lot of space for it. But when I found comedy and theater, I was able to kind of emote and take up a lot of space. I'm the quietest one in my family, and I'm quite flamboyant. So that says a lot.
Wow, I love that. Yeah. Oh, that's so. So my brother's actually Muslim. So, and growing up, a huge portion of my family was Muslim. So I was kind of curious about after you came out to your family, how was acceptance and all of that types of stuff dealt with in your family? Because I find that my brother, at first, he was a little bit reluctant to do it. But as soon as he became more comfortable with it, we've grown even closer because I feel like there are so many parallels in our lives. So just tell us a little bit about that experience for you.
That's funny. I actually have a similar situation with my sister. So I was more religious. I lived on a Muslim floor. I only ate halal. I didn't drink until I was 31. Like I was very strict. And then she was like the partier. And then we flipped places. Like I explored more. And then she got more religious. And then she was kind of like, listen, I support and accept you when I came out, but then was like, okay, your Instagram is a whole nother thing, right? So I came out and my Instagram like kind of essentially outed me, even though everyone kind of knew. But my family, I always say, denial's best served with hummus. It's just something that the Middle Eastern people, I was literally a pink flamingo, and I mean, it was so obvious. But they didn't want to see it. So I think for my sister, when I started doing the Instagram and I started hosting pool parties in LA and I was, wearing dresses and wigs and looking snatched, I think that was hard for her because she was like, I thought you were going to be like, and this is literally what she said, I wish you could be like Ellen or Anderson Cooper and kind of just like not be so out there and be a little bit. I'm like, I'm not those people though. Like,
Yeah.
I'm
Also,
not white for starters.
there it is.
I'm also not a celebrity. Like, there was just a lot of, but that's kind of like the straight privilege of it all. But we've come leaps and bounds. You know, one of her roommates, like, and one of my best friends, her sister, you know, recently came out a couple years ago as bi, and that helped a lot for my sister to see someone else go through it with their sibling and kind of emulate that style and then support me in the way that I needed to be supported. But I've always been fiercely independent. I mean, I was that little kid that didn't want to talk to anyone else. I was always doing my own thing. So I think that helped when it came to my family. It was very hush hush, like, don't say it. Like, my aunt, I remember one time at a party, she like pulled me aside. She's like, I know you're gay and I love it and I support you, but don't tell your mom. And it's like, what is happening?
Always
Like,
that
should
hiding,
you know?
yeah.
It's always in hiding. It's always like shame. And, you know, and it's like, and I remember one of my uncles like took me to dinner and was very serious and was like, you know, I think it's a choice. And I know this, like, but I was like, hello, like, who's going to pick a harder choice? And he was like, no, it's a choice. But like, you know, I feel so bad for your parents. So I'm going to take you on a shopping spree. And I was like, all right. I was like, let's go to Balenciaga, boo. Like, listen, I'm going to use that homophobia to my benefit.
I was like, gonna say, are your parents adopted? Because he could be my uncle too.
Funny. I was like, let me get what I need. So
it sounds like you're not going to be holding out a lot when you're writing this series about your life. It sounds like nothing will stay off the table, I'm assuming, yes?
I'm trying. You know, I have producers that say I'm protecting my mom. And I think as a child, you always want to protect my parents. My parents are the reason I am an empath. They are the reason I am who I am. Like, again, coming out gave me purpose. And for people listening, they might say, F you, I don't believe that. But coming out made me a better Muslim. I was able to be more empathetic. I was living on a high horse, judging everyone. I was judge, jury, and executioner. And I think coming out actually humbled me, and it allowed me to like be a better person and a better Muslim by extension. So I think that my parents, they're not happy that I maybe drink or I'm gay or that I don't pray, but I think they can feel that I'm a better person. And I think that that's helped us a lot. Again, they're never going to be at a pride parade. They're not going to be at my wedding. I've made peace with that. Like, I'm not even getting married. Like, I don't even want to get married. So I think it's like, once I realized all of those things, I was able to be like, I don't want a heteronormative experience. And so I don't need to feel bad when I go to a wedding and the parents are walking down the bride. Like, I don't want a wedding, right? So, and it's okay for someone that wants that and they want to mourn that, but that just wasn't me. So I spent so much time being like, I wish they were this way. I wish they were that way, but they're not able to. They're beautiful in other ways. It's just supportive parents. In that respect, they can't do it.
I love it. And then we have to ask you, in your comedy, do you talk a lot about your sexuality in your comedy, about actual sex, or how far do you go when you're talking about in your comedy?
Well, funny enough, I talked about my dad a lot. I mean, I love my dad, Jafar. His name is funny. So it already lends itself. Yeah, it's fabulous.
It's amazing.
What is it?
Jafar, like from Aladdin.
Like from Aladdin.
God. I don't want to say it. Oh, right. Make that reference.
I got it. I was
yes.
We love a gay villain, a gay Disney villain.
I don't want to say that either.
I'll say it. So I think my dad is just lends himself to a lot of comedy. My first stand-up was about my dad calling me and saying, I hope you're not still gay. And it's like, really, Dad? This is where we're still doing this? So he's just very sweet and really does his best. And I think, you know, we've done family therapy. They've gone to PFLAG. They do a lot of heavy lifting that a lot of Middle Eastern parents don't. My parents never threatened to kick me out. They never threatened to like cut me out of their lives. Yeah, there was moments where I didn't talk to certain ones, but I think my comedy, a lot of it is really just trying to figure out my sexuality on stage. So yeah, it obviously comes up, but a lot of it is just funny moments with my dad. You know, I was doing a TED Talk and my dad called and said, I hope you're not going to talk about being gay. It's not going to be the whole thing, but it's got to come up. It's going to come up, right?
You're right.
I mean, I am gay though, Dad. Just so you know.
I am. It is kind of hard for them. So, I mean, recently, my mom said it out loud, you know, gay, and I think that is like, it's important for, again, if you compare my family to like, let's say an open, very accepting white family, you're going to be leaps and bounds disappointed. But if you compare them to like just within the community, they've really made a lot of progress. I don't know if they're going to watch the show. I don't know if they don't really like when I do appearances or I'm on a talk show. I was on a talk show in Canada 2 years ago. They never saw it. Like, they're not going to watch it. And
so
that's
they're not
fine.
watching tonight. Yeah, they're not in our audience tonight. That's okay.
No, it's fine. I mean, I send them the stuff and they don't watch it, but like I think I've learned how to like self-soothe and be my own parent. I mean, I'm a parentified child anyway. The minute you meet me, you're like, he's laughing about trauma, making jokes at his expense. I mean, he obviously, it's like nobody with a good childhood does that. So, and that's fine.
Yeah.
I'd rather be funny.
It's true.
I'd rather be funny.
Yeah. Well, I love the funniness on your page, especially your TikTok. I just followed you. I don't know if you saw.
I will follow you back.
But thank you. You post a lot of interesting things. Like there's a lady eating pho in a car and a cup. And I was like, oh, okay, this is for me. But you also post a lot of quote unquote woke things. Like you deal with a lot of themes about social justice and things of that nature. What drew you to want to explore these themes on your page?
Well, I think that like early on when I started my Instagram, it was just about kind of coming to terms with my sexuality. And as I conquered that, I was like, okay, now what, right? You know, when I started Instagram, it was coming out with love. And I was like, I'm actually really angry about a lot of things. So I'm not really in love. So I was like, let me start to kind of trigger people. And it wasn't really the big community. I started with the queer community because I naively thought when I came out that like everyone would rally around me and be like, we accept you. And then it was like, oh, no, you're fat, you're hairy, I'm gonna like tokenize you. There was a lot of disgusting, like internalized homophobia, fat shaming, all of it. Femme bashing. I wish you didn't talk like a girl. You'd be boyfriend material if you lost 20 pounds. Like there was just a lot of these comments within the queer community. I was like, wait a second. I'm not gonna let this like slide. So I did a panel called Fuck Grindr. And actually one of the CMOs came to the event. Like I didn't know he was there. And he's like, we were really interested at Grindr that someone was just so triggered that they would just make a whole event called Fuck Grindr. And again, Grindr is beautiful when you use it right, but because I was looking for validation outside of me, that is like so not the right way to use it.
A worst place to go. Yeah.
It's a worst place to go. And there were times where I would go to city and I had like addiction to it just to meet different people. And I was just trying to find my way in the gay community. So I think for me, that's what led to the social justice. I was like, I want to speak up for people. And, you know, when I started losing brand deals because I spoke up about BLM or spoke up about trans rights, I was like, oh, I'm on the right track. If I'm losing things, I'm on the right track. And even now I have people that say, oh, don't talk about Palestine. Don't talk about, I'm Middle Eastern. Like if you have a problem with me discussing what's happening in the Palestine, I'm never going to be anti-Semitic, but if you have a problem with what I'm saying, unfollow me, block me. I really could care less because as queer people, it's important for us to speak up for what's wrong because very quickly, I mean, we're seeing it in America, right? Women lose the right to have like free abortion. And then what's next? Gay marriage, right? What's next after that? I mean, it's a very quick snowball effect. So I just feel like, and I always want to make people laugh. I don't want to ever be the page where you go on there and you're like, oh God, I have a headache. I want to make you laugh and then quickly insert a couple little like, okay, Middle Eastern people are human. Let me tell you a little bit about like, we're not all terrorists. Let me quickly kind of throw that in there because I have people message me like, I was scared of Muslims until I came across your page. Like that to me is such a big compliment. Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, you're such a great voice for the community, and I don't think we have enough of them, and you're so unapologetic, which I think is so great. Although, one of the funny things about your TikTok is a lot of it is really just seeing you react. So you'll put like videos up there that are hilarious or bizarre, or like Kodi said, somebody making pho, preparing pho, in there, and they have this whole contraption in their car, which by the way would spill on me. I just had pho last night and I couldn't keep it together in my apartment here, let alone a car, but whatever. And most of your it's like your reaction. So while you have this big voice, what is it about your facial expressions and why do people be coming back to see your reactions?
You know, that's so funny. So I started TikTok in early 2020. So I was like kind of early adopter and I was on it and I was posting a lot about being a former publicist and my clients and what they smelled like and who was the worst celebrity. And I would get, you know, those would go viral and people loved those. And that's great. But one of the videos muted, I don't know, something happened and it was mute. And then people were like commenting on my facial responses in the video. You couldn't even hear it. So a lot of the comments were like, there's no audio. And I was like, oh, I'm not reshooting this whole fucking thing. So I was like, I'm just going to leave it.
We've been there, Amir.
Yeah, we've been there. And we did not reshoot them.
Yeah.
I'm too old. Like, I'm just like a geriatric millennial. I don't have time. I was like, I don't care. Like, I wear skinny jeans still, like, sue me. Like, I'm not reshooting the video. So I was like, I'm done. So I let it go. And then I think from that, I was just like, why am I spending all this time making a script and like doing these videos over and over again when I can just react to other people's shenanigans? And I think the more I like looked at those videos and react to them, the more I got like camel hump cooking, and I got like just the most bizarre videos online, people washing their chicken. I mean, there's this girl that does these crazy videos where she puts cans in the oven. I was just like, okay, so the internet basically like received me, and I was able to like just kind of take what they were giving me. So
I love it.
Perfect.
I love it. Well, we are in front of a live virtual audience, so if you have questions for Amir, put them through. By the way, I see Malibu, who's cough, I'm here. I have a little bit of a cold that I'm getting over myself, so it makes me feel good that I'm not the only one. I've been like sniffling over here. But Amir, we thought, because you have been a celebrity publicist, you've covered hot topics, you've been on many shows, we thought we'd pull together some of the hottest topics that's come our way in the last 600, not the last 600 episodes, but the last few episodes, and run them by you.
That's a good episode one.
I know, right? No, I know.
I'm busy. Wow.
We want to do kind of a rapid fire here. And okay, thoughts on Abercrombie and Fitch? Did you wear them? You're still wearing skinny jeans, so maybe not. But what are your thoughts on what's going on with that?
Listen, Abercrombie Fitch, the new revamp, the sweaters are amazing. Like, highly recommend. So they've like really done an overhaul. So it's amazing. But what's happening with the CEO, not so much. So this kind of crop, but I'm not surprised. Like, if you were early 2000s, you saw the shirtless models at the mall. Like, that was my gay awakening. So I feel like the company had some weird, I mean, that's weird HR to begin.
It was creepy. Remember, you would go in the mall, or the old days when I'd go in the mall, and they'd have two models positioned at the front door, often holding like a bottle of spritz. And underage looking. It was just very, always white, you know. Always. And yeah, so okay. All right, moving on. Janet Jackson, just to refresh everyone's memory, and I'm a huge fan, so be nice, but she, when asked about Kamala Harris, is she Black, she said, well, I heard that she wasn't, kind of the way she sort of said it.
And she probably said it just like that.
She did kind of say it, and it reminds me of one of her earlier videos, and it didn't go over at all very well. Thoughts on Janet Jackson?
As someone who worked with all kinds of celebrities, I worked with anyone you think of, I probably worked with them. They will always 10 out of 10 disappoint you. So I always just try to, with celebrities, just be like, okay, do I remove the talent from the person? I think so. Janet Jackson, I mean, nobody can dance like her. Nobody can move in a music video. Nobody can command space like her. And I have a soft spot because she was married to, you know, my people. So I have a little bit of a soft spot.
She has a child. As a child, yeah.
As a child. So, I mean, her comment's not great, but I think what it shows, it helps to open a larger conversation around people that are biracial, because I think it's like, I, as someone who's white passing, get my ethnicity removed from me constantly, being like, oh, well, you're white, so you don't need to worry about being Middle Eastern. But my name is Amir Hassan Yassai. I'm always going to be Middle Eastern. And that's my identity. So I think when you do that, especially to biracial people, I think it just kind of hits below the belt. But again, I think that her heart is in the right place. I mean, I could be wrong, but I just really like Janet. So maybe that's true.
Me too. Oh, good. I love it. Okay.
Your last name isn't Yass? Yass?
No, it's Yass. I go as Yass just because it's like, why not?
I thought it was Yass.
No, I wish it was. I wish it was.
How do you say it? So we say
it's Yassai. Yassai.
Yes, Yassai. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
No. I'll go as Yass. I go as Yass.
Okay.
That's fine. That's just my full name.
Okay, moving on, because we want to get through all of these. Ryan Murphy with his monsters, the Melendez brothers. Was he queer baiting with all those shower scenes that may or may not have really happened in real life, or was he onto something and is really going to help them get out of jail? Because that's the latest thing, they may get out of jail.
I mean, when Kim Kardashian's involved, you know, with the Innocence Project and all the stuff she does, so that I'm always like, okay, they might have a chance. And I didn't know they were in San Diego, so they're real close to me. So I was like, all right, Menendez brothers. But you know, listen, I think I might visit. I might be on that visitor list, honey. Listen, if Cooper Koch is going to be there with, you know, he didn't use the prosthetic, so honey, I'm going to be on that conjugal visit.
There we go.
Please.
Yeah, maybe he'll help them get him out.
Yes.
Moving on to another celebrity that's been in hot water, Jussie Smollett, who you know, we talked about it on this show. He keeps claiming he's innocent. Remember the news? He created that. We all feel he's guilty on this show, but he's trying to have a comeback. Do you think the gays will forgive him or nope?
Ooh, will the gays forgive him? I mean, the gays forgive a lot. So I don't know. We're a pretty forgiving bunch. I mean, listen, you give us a little bop for the club, we'll forgive a lot. So maybe if he does a little song for us, we might forgive.
Ooh,
I don't know.
that's
Maybe
a good
little
one because he's a
OnlyFans.
great singer.
Don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a good singer. I don't know. I think for me, what I like about this whole thing is that it didn't translate to his sister's career. Because a lot of times when men act stupid, it ends up affecting the females in their lives. And I'm just happy that her career, like Journey Smollett career, was not affected. Because she's a talent. Yeah. And I didn't want this to like be like, oh, your whole family's messed up. And I think that happens sometimes.
You said Journey, right? Journey Smollett.
Journey Smollett.
Oh,
exactly.
I know. She's amazing. Yeah. And why should she be dragged under the bus because of something her brother did that was dumb?
100%. 100%.
Okay, two more. Troye Sivan. We talked about it on the show recently. He's on tour right now with Charlie XCX, and he was talking about switching teams, like going straight because he can't seem to find a boyfriend. Was he just clickbaiting us, or do you really think that he might be switching teams?
I mean, I don't know. Never say never. I mean, I had a phase where I was like really attracted to straight couples, and I was like, do I want to be a third? And like, and a lot of my gay friends were actually quite judgmental. They were like, you're so gay, stop even thinking that. So I think it's nice to sometimes be able to explore. Do I think he's gonna like hook up with a woman? I mean, maybe. I really don't think so, though. He just seems
hard to
so,
believe
so delicate.
With the corset and
the eyelashes.
And the eyelash. I mean, hey, there can be
I think we had to draw him a map.
Yeah, we may have to.
Yep. There's a lot of holes down there, honey. There's a lot of holes.
Yeah. And lastly, I don't know why we're ending on a more serious one, but Austin Wolf, he's really dominated since the summertime all the way till now. If I have to say it again, it was because he was found with all of this child pornography on his hard drive. He was also account of distributing it through the Telegram. And lastly, his case keeps like delayed because there's a chance that he's working on a plea deal. So any thoughts on Austin Wolf?
It's disappointing for me because a lot of my connection to the gay world was through porn stars, and I think he was one of the first ones.
He was all of ours, so don't feel bad. Yeah, right.
You know, I feel like I had an awakening, but also it also reminds me that and I always tell people, just because you're gay doesn't mean you're good. So gay people can be awful and sinister.
Can we put that on a shirt?
Let's put that on a shirt. The thing that sucks is kind of like Jesse and Austin is that it's a little fucked up. I mean, listen, anything for commerce.
A little fucked up sometimes. Yeah.
I mean, listen, we love a fucked up.
Know that though. That's what my point
if we can make a coin off of it, you two, we're putting it on the t-shirt.
Okay, you know what? You got me.
Okay, yeah.
Anything for money. But I feel like when Jesse or Austin does stuff, it reflects on a whole community. Whereas when a Harvey Weinstein does something, it's like, oh, he's a bad guy. It's not like all white men are bad. It's just that's the problem with when you do that. They kind of are. But I mean, they made the system.
You're right. People look immediately at our community especially in the Austin Wolf case.
Especially the pedophile thing.
Yeah. Also, like you made a great point, Jesse, too. It's like, are we, people really are, we were going to do a story, we skipped it today, but of people really being victims of Grindr and being robbed and being stalked. And those are real victims that our community, transgender, are real victims. And then here you have somebody in our community actually having child pornography on there and exchanging it. And it's just and then we don't want him to represent us all, especially when we all looked up to him at one point. So yeah,
that's very disappointing. It's quite disappointing. But what makes me happy is Bryce Smith's comment. My mom said that I'm being gay.
Read something positive.
Yeah, he's saying my mom said that I'm being gay specifically to hurt the family. But what I like about it is then he's like, fuck Grindr, fuck Sniffies, and Yass living my life. So I think sometimes you just have to kind of even if someone says you're ruining, attacking the family, that family was not good to begin with.
They
If
were
the
broken
center of your
already.
family, they were broken already. If the center of your family's homophobia and hate, it wasn't that great. That's why when people say, oh, you ruined the family. No, the queer person is usually the point of projection. They're the linchpin to actually help the family grow. That's why the most supportive parents generally don't have queer children. We're there to actually help homophobic people to come out of their minds and to kind of actually grow. That's like why we're so magical. That's why people, oh, queer people are so magical. That's why. That's why sometimes we end up in families where we're not accepted because we're there to help them move forward. That's what I believe. I mean, I could be wrong.
This sounds like your TED Talk. I wish I want to hear it. It's so good. Yes, seriously, Amir.
Yes.
We want to really thank you, Amir Yass. Okay, thank you so much for coming on. We want to definitely have you back. Where can people follow you? Because we want everyone to keep up with you.
Amir Yass official on Instagram and TikTok. And I had a troll recently tell me that ass is in my name. And I was like, that's a compliment. Is that supposed to be a diss? I don't know why that's a diss.
Yeah, exactly. Amir Yass official. And I love it. Thank you so much. We will definitely have you back. We'll list everything on show notes. And you were awesome. Thank you.
So fun.
Thanks for being you. Yes.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thanks, Amir. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Oh my gosh, so cool.
So amazing and such wonderful insights. I love it.
Absolutely. Really good stuff. Yes, follow Amir, but I will list it on show notes. I just wanted to finish one. Well, we finished up Cooper Koch, right? We finished talking about, we were talking about straight friends.
Yes.
And we didn't really get to finish that. I could probably edit that in the post-production of this. I've had a couple of straight friends throughout the years. You know, my former personal trainer, and he's just the coolest guy. When we don't hang out all the time, but when we do. But recently, about a year ago, I was at a podcast conference, and we went to, it was in Vegas, and there was a huge party they threw for us at a huge hotel venue. And I met this guy that works in production of podcasting, not is a podcaster. And he was straight, he was cute, but we actually just hung out the whole night. We had a great time. I was kind of his wingman there for a little bit, helping him meet some girls, but we were having cocktails. And we were going to, because he lives here in New York, we didn't end up carrying it on, but we had a blast and exchanged numbers. So much of a blast. The next day we were like, how are we going to make these morning meetings that we had to go to? But we just met randomly, total straight, I'm total gay, and it can happen. What were you going to say about any connections you've had with straight? Because it can happen. I think it's totally possible.
Oh, definitely. I feel like I've had those moments where you meet a straight guy in a bar. Maybe you're at a straight bar with friends or what have you, or you just stumble into a bar one random night and it's a straight bar and you meet a straight guy. It's a setup for a joke, definitely.
Yeah, right. Good setup for
I'll work it out and then I'll come back next week and have the punchline. But yeah, I feel like that's happened to me before and we instantly bond. And it's because they're so open and they are so welcome and they're so secure in themselves. So that allows us to actually be able to connect on another level. I have some straight male friends that I will always have for the entirety of my life. And I had a work straight boyfriend husband type deal. And you know, he's moved to Rhode Island, somewhere up there. I don't know. And he has a baby and I would love to go see him and have a good time. I was at his wedding. And so I can't wait to reconnect with him because it was such a fantastic relationship.
By the way, Kodi had a couple of good terms on episode 610. We were talking about when a porn star reminds you of somebody you've been with, like their dick or something like that. And you said, and we did a poll, Kodi, it came out 50-50. We were asking people to vote on Kodi's two terms, pornstalgia or pornja vu, like deja vu of when an actual porn star's body part reminds you of one of your past hookups or boyfriends that you've been with. And but it was coming out 50-50, so pretty good on that one. Pornstalgia and pornja vu. Yes.
We'll trademark both then.
Yes, absolutely. Those would be great on t-shirts as well. We are wanting to give some advice. One of them we're just going to talk briefly about. It really had to do with a gripe that Kodi and I have here when you live in the big city. And it started off with, I'm tired of moving for others on the sidewalk. Sorry, I just need to vent. It really has nothing to do with sex at all, but it was in one of our, it said, it always seems like straight couples expect my fiance and I to go around them. When we walk down the street together, we're usually one behind the other because we're just used to nobody making way. When I'm by myself, it's just the same. So many straight men refuse to move, and I'm not certain women won't as well. Sometimes it just wears me down. You know what my answer to that is? When I see like a group of people coming at me, guys, girls, and they're not making any room, and I'm like literally scraping the wall on the right-hand side. I think of everything like traffic. Like I'm pulled over way over here, and they're coming at me. You know what I do? I leave my broad shoulders out that I work so hard on, and I smack them. I not like hit them, but I let the shoulder just. I don't move in or let me just like no. And often I've hit them, guys, girls, and they look back like what the, and I'm like, hey, make room. Hello, I'm like over here. You can't just walk down like Sex in the City, like carry all of them like in a row. That doesn't really happen in real life, people. So, you got to like pair it up and keep traffic moving. But what do you say to this so we could just vent on this one moment?
I am with you 100%. I barrel down the sidewalk like they better move out of my way. You know what I've thought about, though? I thought about actually telling them in their face, like, you should probably slide over because I'm not moving. And you know what?
I think what's more effective is you just bouldering through. Is if you just like, and then they'll look back and you'll be like, I'm over, like all you got to do is go, I'm over here, like in this corner. Look where you guys are taking up all the space. And I mean, come on.
Come on.
Hit them.
And I do hit them. So I used to take this really personally and make it about myself and who I am as a person and all the things that make up me as a person. But something Lincoln said and something that I've noticed now that my eyes are more awake and aware to other people being selfish is that everybody is selfish. The majority of people are selfish. It's not really about you. So I've stopped taking it so personally, and that has helped tremendously. But
not all of us are, because I have a lot of friends that aren't that way either, and gay friends, and you're not. So we're not all selfish like that. So
that's why I changed it to the majority of people. Yeah.
Thank you. All right, let's give some kind of a long one, but it's about a newly open relationship and dealing with insecurity and unevenness. And we talk a lot about open relationships, and it's my partner, 35, and I, 32, have been together for 4 years. We've so far been extremely happy and content, live together, hang out with each other, friends, and even have a dog together. About 3 months ago, we had the discussion to open things up. And this was mutual, although he was the one to bring it up. Both of us thought it would be fun, recognize that we can't provide the other with everything they need sexually, and have generally been mature about it. We have set rules, mainly that we can't host someone at our place, no friends, no consistent repeats, and no secrets. So far, we've had 2 threesomes and are both on Grindr pretty actively. The problem is I'm facing that I didn't anticipate is him being more successful than I am. So this guy kind of feels like his partner's a little more attractive than he is. And he also tells us in this story that his partner isn't working right now, and the other one's working like long hours. So he feels like he's home all day, the really good looking one out of the 2 of them, potentially meeting and DMing guys all day long, and it's really causing a lot of strife. His real problem, though, is that he feels like he's DMing guys, right, Kodi? He says he loves him very much. We have a great relationship, and I want to build a life with this guy. I know a lot of people are going to say this is doomed, but I'm looking for a bit more constructive advice that, and he plans on discussing it with him. Open relationships can be a whole thing. I mean, I've been talking with my boyfriend about some of this stuff, and you have to really be that much more communicative about where you're heading with all this stuff, not just like the parameters, but when something does bother you. If you're bothered by your partner DMing somebody and you know they're DMing somebody all the time and not being present with you, then you need to tell them that, I think, right? This to me comes more to communication. Like they seem like they're both level-headed, but that maybe one is living a little bit more in his head than the other one is, and he needs to really communicate that to the other person.
Yeah, I hear that, and I totally agree. Something else I would probably add on is be open and honest about your jealousy as well. And that's the only way you can overcome it, is if you put that on Front Street and make sure that that is something that you are communicating to your partner. I've made the mistake definitely of holding those types of feelings in, and it never ends well. So also something else I kind of want to put out there for them is you make the rules for your relationship. So if you're not comfortable, or you find that you are getting a little bit jealous from your agreement right now, then maybe amend that agreement. Maybe you only hook up with people together. Maybe you only hook up with people from 5 to 8 p.m. when you're off work. There's so many ways. you know, they have to go to bed early. He has to work in the morning.
Hour?
It is.
Who are we getting, by the way?
The Blue Plate special.
Yeah.
The Blue Plate sex special. I love it. I'm here for it. But it is what it is. You get to define your relationship and the parameters for your relationship. So that I say talk about it and let them know how you're feeling at the end of the day.
I love it. That's great advice. And we want to hear from you as well. We also want to read Ken D here watching us live says, I just want to read it because it's touched my heart. He says, I love you guys. I'm a first-time live viewer. Welcome. But I always listen to each episode on Amazon Music. Oh, that's great. We always like to know where everyone listens to us. I don't have any gay friends, so your podcast helps me feel less isolated. Endless things. Just curious where you're at, Ken, in the world. We always love to shout out to different spots. But thank you for that. Really appreciate it. And we loved being your friend, if it's not just virtually. So that's great too. Well, we're waiting on that. But in the meantime, we have our final segment that we want to do. And I put the link in there. It's Straight Up Gay Porn. And it's our job on a virtual video podcast to describe vividly why we picked the person that we picked. And like I said, it's produced by Straight Up Gay Porn. And they're asking the question this week, which one of these 14 gay porn stars took the best photo? Little tidbit about this, I may have mentioned it before, but the segment used to be videos and photos. Do you remember that, Kodi?
Oh, I definitely do. I enjoy them videos.
You had to vote on both. But to me, it wasn't a fair game because video is different from photography. Like they're separate mediums in my world, right? And I don't think you can really compare live motion with a still photography. And the only reason the guy took it off was because Twitter didn't allow him to embed the videos anymore. But I think it was secretly a good thing because like, they're two different mediums. You can't compare them. Like, do videos if you want to do videos and vote on the best, do photography, but they're not the same thing. It's like comparing theater with a film and saying it's like they're two different mediums. You can't do that.
Yeah, it's true.
But so I'm glad secretly that it worked out this way. But I will go first. And mine is Priam Big Spoon is his name. Priam, Priam Big Spoon. He's looking really sexy taking a selfie of himself, leaning back on a bed with a really cool expression on his face, a nice beard. He's got nice hair. He's uncut, soft, but he has his sock and his foot up. And those of you know I'm into feet. He looks like he has really nice feet, but they're in the sock. And he's kind of holding it up. I don't know. There's something about that picture that is just alluring to me. And I want to know more or
I think I know what
into it. Yeah. I voted for him.
About 8 inches.
And it looks good. So Amir gets my vote. Who gets your vote and why, Kodi?
Well, first I have to say that this was a really good week. Some really good contenders were in this race this week. Third leg Jay, whew, Jesus, he's aptly named, by the way. Braxton Cruz and Dan Wyatt, they're looking tasty over there. And Derek Cage almost got my vote because he's wearing a T-shirt that says "I make porn and I vote." So that
Bryce likes Derek Cage. He says wins for me.
Yeah, but my vote this week actually has to go to Greg Kelly, just because that ass, it just won't quit. He's so beautiful.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
He's in a room completely naked. It's a beautifully decorated all white room with a plant behind him, and so he has some green foliage there.
A plant.
He's turned around, his ass facing the camera, and maybe that's why I like it, honestly. He's got a drink in his hand, and I hope he has another one for me because I'm all out right now. So I think that
I'm going to hear more about this plant. I love
it's lovely foliage, honey. You got to have the foliage.
Anybody else? Diego, hello? I don't know. People out there? Ken watching it says Charleston, yes, correct?
He's from Charleston, yes.
And sorry, you're from Charleston and you vote on Derek Cage. Got it. Yes. Okay, I can read. Oh my gosh, so much fun tonight. We want to thank our special guests, as they were really awesome today. We really want to thank Emanuel Loarca, and talking about his Under My Skin, the monologues, happening next Wednesday. If you happen to be in LA, check it out. It's at the iconic LGBTQ Center. You don't want to miss it. But we also want to huge thank you to Amir Yass to coming on our show. We have to have him back. We will list all of his listings on there. Hi, Durand. Thanks all virtual audience for tuning in. We couldn't do this without you. You can follow Kodi at Mr. Maurice on Instagram. You're also promoting your Indiegogo for an EP. Yes. And what's the best way to get it or to contribute?
You can go to the show notes at TAGSPodcast, or you can go to Indiegogo.com and project/Kodi Maurice EP2.
We'll list all that. Follow me on the gram. I am _Steve V, or go to my Twitter account at TAGSPodcast, where you get a preview of my Just for Fans or Only Fans. And lastly, I'm going to be in Mexico all next week. I'll be live from there. And go to our Patreon page because I'm going to be doing daily photo updates. So go to patreon.com/TAGSPodcast for an exclusive look on my week with Fakaya. And in the meantime, continue having hot gay
sex.
Thank you.